Hello, my fellow YouTubers and subscribers, and welcome to my latest review, where today I review His Dark Materials Season 2, Episode 2, The Cave. So, Episode 2, The Cave. Well, the plot is as follows. Lyra and Will head to Oxford for answers. The Magisterium is faced with a terrible choice. So that's, in short, basically what happens in this story. But to add further details to the plot, Lyra goes to talk to this woman called Mary, who studies dark matter, otherwise known as dust. Will also goes to check on his mother, and he discovers some truths about his family as well. And the Magisterium are at war with the witches, and things become very intense. Let's just say that. So, episode 2, how is this episode? Well, in my opinion, this is a very good episode. Another really strong episode. Honestly, this show is very good. I mean it when I say I'm not being biased whatsoever. The quality and the consistency of these episodes is astounding. It really is. This particular episode, there's quite a lot going on, and it is a slightly longer episode. It's 50 minutes long, which I think is fine. It has a couple of minor pacing issues. Again, that is an unfortunate consistency with this show. There are a couple of slow scenes and whatnot, but the story is so big and detailed, they need the time to explain everything. So, again, doing it as a TV series was a better idea than doing it as movies. But aside that, this is a really great episode, and I can't fault the drama. There's a lot going on. The Magisterium, in particular, really takes centre stage in this one, because there's a change in leadership. MacPhail is now in control as the Cardinal, because the previous Cardinal is dead and was killed by a witch, and now we have this sort of change in power and this rise in power. We open with this funeral. Actually, it's an interesting moment, and of course Mrs. Coulter is there, although she's trying not to get too involved in all of this, but you know, she's just trying to, you know, keep herself alive, really, because the Magisterium are, you know, taking people and sentencing them to labour if they don't side with them. And it's actually very shocking in the end when they actually burn the witches' forest, and they burn the witches' homes, which is shocking to how extreme they have become in their ways. And they also arrest Omid Djalali's character, who I think his name is Dr. Lazarius or something like that, or Lycilius, I can't remember his name. He appeared briefly in season 1, and we find out he's the son of a witch, and he gets arrested because he disagrees with what the Magisterium are doing, and he you know, the Magisterium are trying to blame the witches for everything that's happened. Like, oh, you know, they knew about this knowledge and they didn't share it with us, you know, blasphemy. So there's a really dramatic intense court scene that takes place, and it really is an interesting idea. Again, going back to this idea that dust to the Magisterium is sin, and they want to suppress it, although it's very difficult to do that given what Lord Asriel is doing, and they're still trying to hunt him down. So basically their world is fucked, and the Magisterium are almost going to very extreme lengths to stop people from, you know, revolting, and to stop people from getting ideas about dust and everything, and trying to blame the witches for this catastrophe to, you know, to officiate some sense of control. They want to give the illusion that they are still in control of this situation, which is, of course, bollocks. And it just goes to show how much things are getting out of control and things are getting out of hand. But I really liked how much focus they put on the Magisterium this time, and like I said, I felt sorry for the witches. It's horrible to see their home get destroyed as well. Also, the introduction of Simone Kirby, who plays Mary Malone, who is this I guess scientist who is studying dark matter, otherwise known as dust, and she's come into contact with these sort of particles. Like, she explains it as though you can't see the particles, but she's got a reading on her monitor which shows the contact has been made. And when she meets Lyra, she doesn't quite know what to believe, but then when Lyra reads the alethiometer, she's quite astounded, and then she does believe that, oh, obviously, you know, this message on the monitor meant that the borders have been broken and people are coming in from other worlds. There's definitely something weird going on. And she explains that she works with this machine, which is actually called the Cave. I mean, the story isn't set in an actual cave, but the computer is called the Cave. And she continues to study all this matter. And for a while, she was testing on these objects until she got a response, and now she finally did get a response, and obviously meeting Lyra has confirmed that response. But she's an interesting character, and she will reappear as the season goes on, and we do get to explore her a bit more. But I think she's a very nice character, and she does sympathise greatly with Lyra, and Lyra explains about some of the losses that she's suffered. Speaking of which, Dafne Keen as Lyra, yeah, very good this time. I wouldn't say it's her best performance, but she's pretty good. I do think maybe she could have gone a bit further with some of those emotional moments, like when she's pouring her heart out to Mary about what happened. I hate to say it was a little bit flat. Maybe she could have. She could have got into that scene a little bit more, I thought. What I did like was the relationship between Lyra and Will. And I think it's an interesting dynamic because they're not quite trusting each other yet, but they are becoming more friendly with each other, which is a weird dynamic, but it's interesting because Lyra obviously knows that Will has murdered somebody, and Will has his reasons for that. It was an accident, he was trying to protect his mother, and Will is trying to look out for his family. So I don't think Lyra is quite certain of Will's involvement in all of this, and they now have to go and find his father. Apparently his father is like a massive key to all this, and of course we will see his father in the later episodes, but it's interesting how there's a little bit of tension, but they are still working together, and they will still be working together for the remainder of the season. I actually thought the scenes with Will this time are quite good, and how he went back to his grandparents, and it turns out that his granddad has been, well, lying. Has been in cahoots with that other guy. I don't know the guy's name, but the guy from season 1 who was working with Carlo Boreal. So poor Will, he's quite got the weight of the world on his shoulders, and he's having to, check in with his mother. And there's a nice scene when he goes to see her by the window, and he sends her a text, and to reassure her, and he's glad that she's safe and everything. Speaking of Carlo Boreal reappears in this episode. We've not seen him for a bit of time, actually, and he's still snooping around, and he pretends to be this guy in the museum that Lyra meets. He pretends to be this sort of collector, and he tries to gain her trust a bit, and he knows full well who she is, and she's not quite suspicious of him yet, but she will be, and he's definitely gonna be tailing her and Will for quite some time. So I like Ariyon Bakare's performance as Carlo Boreal. He's very creepy. He's creepy and unsettling. And we're reintroduced to him when he sees Lyra and Will come into Oxford, into Will's Oxford, when he's in the car and he's watching them through the through the front of the car. I do think that Mrs. Coulter didn't do all that much in this one. It would have been nice for her to do a little bit more, but for the scene she was in, she was quite good. And I like her costume, like her funeral attire and her dark lipstick and makeup and everything. It looks pretty cool. She has a much more gothic look this time. But overall, I mean, episode 2, it is very good. It's a very strong episode. It's not the best of this season, I don't think, but it's certainly not the worst either. I think it is a little bit of a step up from season 1, and we're starting to understand a little bit more about Dust, even though they're just giving us little bits of information. But I like where it's going, and I think that it's a good progression from the first episode. So I will give The Cave a 9 out of 10. So yeah, that's my review of episode 2. Please let me know what you think down below, and stay tuned next time when I review episode 3, Theft. So until next time, I'm Mr. TARDIS11. See you soon. Bye for now.